أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وأفوض أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد اللهم صل صلاة كاملة وسلم سلاما تاما على سيدنا محمد الذي تنحل به العقد وتنفرج به الكرب وتقضى به الحوائج وتنال به الرغائب وحسن الخواتم ويستسقى الغمام بوجهه الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه في كل لمحة ونفس بعدد كل معلوم لك اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا وشاكرا وتوبة نصوحا اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع وقلب لا يخشع ودعاء لا يسمع وعمل لا يرفع ونفس لا تشبع ربي يسر ولا تعسر ربي تمم بالخير ربي زدني علما وفهما والحقنا بالصالحين اللهم اجعلنا من التوابين واجعلنا من المتطهرين واجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين واجعلنا من الذين لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون يا حي يا قيوم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا قدوس يا سلام لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. My respected brothers and very respected sisters, Jazakumullah khair jaza, and all the brothers and sisters and the families watching over the net, Jazakumullah khair jaza for joining us this evening at the Coburg Islamic Center, where we go through on Friday evenings the basics, very fundamental basics of our deen, which we call it the 54 Faraid, according to the listing of the great Imam of the Tabi'een, Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah. We are on, according to our list. If you haven't got a list with you, this is your first time, or there are some extra copies here, I highly recommend you to get one. You stick it onto your fridge or your desk, study desk, and constantly revise it, that inshallah you memorize it, the whole thing. So we are going through number 5. Number 5 was, it is fard upon every Muslim to take ghusl when it is required. A sticky topic. Alhamdulillah, we've managed for the last 2 weeks quite well, and inshallah I intend to go through it without much falling into difficulty. It is, in Islam, there are basically 2 types of impurity. One is called hadath, the other one is called najasa. One is legal impurity, it's not visible, but the other one is physical impurity. When we see something dirty, say it's najis, yuck. But when a person doesn't have wudu, we don't call that person yuck. It is a particular condition that it stops you from doing salat, if you're lacking. There is one more condition that we're looking at the moment, which is called hadath akbar, the greater impurity of this legal impurity, fiqhi definition, that is janaba. Under certain circumstances, a person becomes junub or enters into the state of janaba, and certain things become absolutely haram for that person to do. We went through all of those things and explained the dangers of doing things without ghusl. Then after that, we looked at the occasions where making ghusl is sunnah or perhaps mustahab to do so. And we listed about 25 different places where it is mustahab to perform ghusl. And I think last week also we went and explained how to make ghusl. Because in our deen, there is no taboo, there is no secret. Everything has to be learned. And especially something that gives you peace of heart, tranquility in your heart when you do your ibadah, that you need to be clean, pure. So this major impurity, this ghusl, is one of the fard or faraid, one of the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we also gave the Quranic references to it. There were some additional points last week where we stopped, and inshallah from where we stopped we will continue additional points, miscellaneous points about ghusl, and inshallah this will also complete our knowledge on ghusl, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah into our learning tonight, inshallah. It is, we said, improper to face qibla when you are engaged in making ghusl. When you're in the shower, it is not a good idea to face towards qibla. When you're making wudu, it is mustahab, sunnah, part of the adab, to face towards qibla, but not when you are making ghusl. It is also improper to talk or engage in some musical lessons. The chorale, so they call it, start singing, absolutely not allowed. You're supposed to go into the shower, do your business, and come out as quickly as possible. You don't answer your phone call, you don't answer mum. If mum calls you, you say, yeah, mum, I'm in the shower, that's it. She knows where you are. But there is no conversation, not in Islamic culture. We do not engage in anything else in shower except to take a shower and just get out. It is also encouraged, it's mustahab to haste to cover your body immediately once you come out of the shower. We are not allowed to walk naked in the house. It's my house, I can do anything. No, doesn't work that way. Part of the adab is that we are beings who live in a dimension where other beings watch us without we knowing. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the shayateen and the jinn, the unseen beings which we do not see, but they see us. And inshallah, once we're going to enter Jannah, they will also enter Jannah, but this time it'll be reversed. We will see them and they will not see us. One of the most hilarious moments for the children of jinn is when the awrah of a Muslim, of a human being, is exposed, where they laugh their heads off. They pointed together with each other, they laugh so much. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to us, if you need to take your clothes off, that you're going to be completely naked, say a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim when you taking your clothes off, so that the eyes of the shayateen and the jinns will be veiled, they cannot see. And also once you come out of the shower, same thing, as quickly as possible you need to put your clothes on. And when you're coming out of the shower, Sharia also emphasizes that if the water is accumulating in the shower or in bathtub, where the old style of showers, where there is no separate shower, but in the bathtub the shower comes in and it's clogged up, then make sure that you wash your feet last. Make sure once you take your feet out, you wash your foot, one foot, and take it out, and wash the other foot and take it out, so that there is no trace of najis remains on your body. And also last week we emphasized this concept of having a foam bath in lieu of ghusl is not allowed. When somebody after work, they go home and they want to relax in a bathtub, they fill their sauna and spa and everything else, and they just relax. They dab their bodies with some soap and everything else. Give me a towel, I'm clean. This is not clean. All the germs within your body, when it relaxes, especially those accumulate in your private area, that also nicely gets into the water and onto your body, all you did was smudging those filth onto your body that you cannot see. So it must be a running water and not accumulated water. How about a river? How about a sea, ocean? That's different ruling altogether, because there's such a large quantity, they are regarded as running water. Running water. It is not also proper within the shower to read any du'as, any Qur'an loudly. Your heart is something else. But to say those things, not allowed to, according to Ahnaf anyway. Even a single hair remains dry, your ghusl will not be valid. If even a single hair is dry, left dry, your ghusl will not be valid. Brother, how am I supposed to know if one single hair is dry or not? Do I go around and look for it? This is actually a point of emphasis. And this sometimes causes so much problems. For some people who are suffering from waswasa, who spend 45 minutes in shower, who spend 1.5 hours in shower, because of they are unsure whether there is a particular hair roots is washed or not, water touched or not. This is a disease, spiritual disease. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that afflicts the people who are so sincere, they want to do the right thing, but they go on washing. Same thing happens with wudu. And this is sometimes, especially happens amongst the young men. When they go through their spiritual transformation, their hearts, they want to do everything, and they get into this tornado. They can't get out quite easily. It sometimes takes years to get out. So, a story that I heard from my teacher when he was teaching this point to me, which I will relate it to you, then inshallah you'll remember. You have to make sure that every part of your body is drenched in water. And you should not have any doubt in your heart as to this particular point. Your heart must be convinced that you are completely washed. On one of those long bus journeys from one city to another city, Melbourne to Sydney, all of a sudden, young assistant to the driver, he says, "Boss, Muslim, I need to take a shower. I need to do a salat." And I was dreaming, what happened. Okay, what do? There's no shower. They stop the bus next to a river, really running river. He says, "Okay, go and make ghusl." The boy goes inside, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim." He makes his intention, jumps into the water, comes out. Not with his clothes, of course. He puts his clothes on, he comes to the boss who's sitting in the car. He says, "Boss, is it okay now? Did I make ghusl? I jumped into the water." He said, "Nah, go back and do it again." He says, "Okay." He goes back and does it again. He puts his clothes on, he comes back onto the bus again. He says, "Boss, is my ghusl okay?" He says, "No." Go and do it again. He jumps into the water again and comes out, puts some clothes on. He didn't ask the boss. He says, "My ghusl is okay now." He says, "Yes, your ghusl is okay now." What's the point? In the first two, he had waswasa. He had doubts whether it was okay or not okay. You can't have this okay or not okay. You need to be convinced in your heart. But some people go through berserk with this condition. Impulsive, compulsive disorder it becomes. You see they're washing their arm nicely, 100%. Then when they go to the other arm washing, he says, "Oh, was there a small spot left?" Or start again, we'll do the whole thing again. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 45 minutes. The water bill, Allahu Alam. Israf, Allahu Alam. So much, such a disease. In those cases, there are ways out. If you're suffering from such problem, come and see me, inshallah ta'ala. We'll fix you up, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. But if after ghusl, for normal people, not the people who are suffering from that particular condition, if after ghusl, you were to recall that a certain part of your body has not been washed. I don't know how, if you're under the shower, but if you're just pouring the water the old traditional way and you forgot and you just realize that your right foot is not washed, for example, and you just came out. Then, as soon as you came out, you go back and you just wash that particular part only. Not the whole body. Just particular part only. And it is definitely not necessary to repeat the ghusl. Not necessary to repeat the ghusl. It happens sometimes when you're making wudu. Sometimes you're in a hurry, you just realize that I didn't wash my arms. I washed my foot and I washed everything else, but it looks dry. Or sometimes you wash one arm and you forgot the other one. In that case, all you do after wudu, you don't have to repeat your whole wudu. Just wash the left arm. Khalas, finished. There's no need to redo and waste water. However, if the unwashed part is not washed and you just walked out anyway and realized that afterwards, instead of going back and washing, this wudu is not valid. You need to go back afterwards and repeat your wudu. You already put your clothes on, you knew it, that part of your body was not washed. That's not ghusl, you're still junub. Because the rule of ghusl is that the whole body must be drenched in water. It is not sufficiently, if it's not sufficient to merely rub the moist hand over the unwashed part, you need to wash it. Water has to flow over it. If due to some sickness or some ailment, water is harmful, that's what the doctor said. Do not let water get into that wound at all costs. In this day and age, alhamdulillah, we have the necessary means where they put the waterproof bandages that no matter what happens, the water doesn't go through for 48 hours or so. But in the olden days, they don't have that technology, so it was difficult. Therefore, if doctor says under no circumstances you should allow water to come through contact with that particular wound of yours in your body, then you must leave that particular section of your body dry. Don't touch it. But brother, there's a dry spot. No. Wound is an exception. The full drenching of the body is for normal people. You have an excuse now. You have a reason. You have an exception. The exception being that you have a wound. If, however, water is not going to harm it and just running a little bit of water over it, it's not a problem. You can do so. However, upon being cured of the ailment, it is wajib to wash that particular section afterwards. So, for a couple of hours, you're not allowed to touch it because you got some bandage or something, and after that you came out, you just wash that body. Not a problem. Especially if it's on the head. But there is no need to repeat the ghusl. You must remove all your extra bits from your body. Your rings, make sure. Your, what are those things called? Earrings. Or other studs elsewhere. The reason being that the water must penetrate into the holes of those, where the pins, your ear pins, goes in. The water has to go in. If not, if the water doesn't go through under your ring is so tight, so to speak, because there'll be a dry spot, then ghusl, that particular ghusl is not accepted. If some gum, some paint, non-porous substance, especially amongst the ladies, when they use the Q-Tex, the nail polish on their fingernails, and when they need to make ghusl, they want holidays, and they need to make ghusl, they have to remove all of these 100%, because if water does not touch the fingernails, because that non-porous waterproof thing is preventing water from touching, penetrating into the skin, into the nail, onto the nail, that wudu is not accepted. Even if you spend 45 minutes under the water. However, when you came out from the shower and you're a painter, for example, or you're a baker, for example, there's some dough stuck, dry stuck, and you did not realize it when you made sure that you washed it, but once you came out, you realize that there's on your arm or somewhere something stuck. In that case, the same first rule applies, that you need to go and remove it and wash that particular section, not renew your complete wudu. It is not necessary to remove an ointment from a cut or wound during ghusl. Gush water over it if it's allowed, if it's okay by the doctor. If any particle, food particle, real stuff, stuck between the teeth, it must be removed. Brush your teeth before you take a shower. Otherwise, the ghusl will not be valid according to the Ahnaf, majority. However, in this regard, majority of the Ahnaf, when it comes to fillings, take the view of Shafi'i madhab, and they all become Shafis. Because once you get a filling done in a state of purity, that filling covers the inner of your teeth, molar. And once you go and take become junub. You are in a state of janaba. Once you try to take a shower, you can't let the water touch that surface of the molar because it's being covered by the filling, correct? Because in a Hanafi school, remember, inside the mouth as well as your nostrils, to wash them is fard. Not amongst the Shafi'i madhab. Therefore, majority of the Ahnaf in this regard follow Imam Shafi'i's opinion, fatwa in this regard. So although if you don't have any fillings but you have some gaps like mine, huge ones, and there's a huge chickpea or little curry stuck in it, you have to make sure that you clean them first before you go into shower. Otherwise, if water doesn't penetrate in there and you don't have an excuse, you don't have any fillings, your ghusl is in danger. After ghusl, you cannot make wudu, because ghusl is the major washing, major ablution. Wudu is a minor ablution. You already painted the whole house. You don't have to paint the room again. You already painted the house. The full house is done. Oh, do I have to do this room again? No. So it is not permissible to make wudu after you made ghusl. In other words, you did not break your ghusl yet. Your ghusl is intact. You can pray with that ghusl, not a problem. But you don't go and make another wudu on top of your ghusl. This is not allowed. But of course, if you broke your ghusl, once you came out of the shower, you passed wind or something, then of course you need to go and make wudu to do your salat. Unfortunately, it is considered to be fashionable by our women folk and our young sisters these days to have long fingernails. This is problematic as far as Islam is concerned. Not that you elongate your fingernails, it is the way the germs accumulate beneath the surface of the nails. And therefore it prevents from water penetrating into those areas, therefore putting your ghusl in danger. Of course, the reason for elongating fingernails is not Islamic. It's to be like what the non-Muslims do, what the fashion models do. It's a passing phase, inshallah ta'ala. A Muslim's fingernails has to be short. You can put henna, you can put other natural stuff Or even if you are into Q-Tex business or polish business, you're paying for the cosmetic industry, no problem. But when you are not praying, yes, we understand, but make sure that cleanliness is priority number one, because hygiene, tahara, is central to Islamic ibadah. Without tahara, there is no ibadah. And this, as a final point on the matter, inshallah, lets me move into a territory that it's difficult to talk sometimes. That is paring off the nails and removing the unwanted hair from the body. Men and women, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us certain parts of our body, under armpits and perhaps in the private parts, we grow hair, whether we like it or not. It is a place where a unique set of germs accumulate. It's not like the hair on our heads or on our skin, but in that area, because of the temperature, because of everything else, certain unique germs accumulate. Islam believes in personal hygiene, and in this, as part of this personal hygiene, it is definitely sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to shorten your fingernails, clip your fingernails on regular basis, and remove those unwanted hairs from your body. Maximum, according to Ahnaf, is 40 days. Beyond 40 days of neglect will regard you as a sinner. It's a sin. To do it every week, it is a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mustahab to do so, perhaps on Fridays, before you come to the masjid. So you cannot imagine a Muslim man lifting his arms up, looking like macho, and he's got some vegetation growing, a forest underneath this. This is not Islamic. This is not our culture. And it is definitely not sissy to shave your underarms. It is not feminine to shave your underarms. It is the sunnah of your Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and all the prophets before, and millions of men throughout the ages, they remove those hairs for this particular purpose. When a Muslim does things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the intention of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even a mundane act of removing hair becomes an act of worship. This is the greatness of Islam. Therefore, care should be taken that your hair in those areas is not left for more than 40 days, as this is the limit in the Sharia. Beyond 40 days, the neglector will be guilty of sin. Everybody's body, DNA structure is different. Some grow slow, some grow fast. Whatever your case is, you must, men and women, no exception to this. Our children must be taught. We need to cleanse ourselves, remove our hair. Part of our deen. And ghusl is a major part of our ibadah, without which we cannot do any salat. Without which we cannot do many of the things that we normally would do. So we need to learn ghusl. Last week I made an announcement that this book is available in the library downstairs for those brothers and sisters who want to go through this very basic book, very simple book, to learn their ghusl. If they are embarrassed to ask questions in public, they can go through this book and they can ring me 24/7. I am telling you, no exception, 24/7. And if you need to know anything about this book or what is inside the book that you need to know about your religion, you can call me, I can discuss it with you over the phone. You don't even have to give me your name. You can block your number. I don't have to see your telephone number if you're embarrassed. But deen, when it comes to learning Faraid, there is no embarrassment. You need to know. You need to know. Jazakumullah khair jaza for this particular understanding of yours, inshaAllah. Now let's move on to the next fard. The next fard is somehow different. The sixth fard is it is imperative, it is fard upon a believer, a Muslim, to believe in and put absolute trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise in the Qur'an that in taking care of one's sustenance, rizq, while we're still living on earth. To have full belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise, make tawakkul, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise that He is the one who's guarantor of your rizq. A fundamental, central belief in Islam. You do not control your rizq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does. If you don't believe in this, you are not a Muslim. Rizq is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And inshallah, we will introduce this topic to the best of our ability and until Isha time. What is our time now? 15 more minutes, inshallah. The word rizq, Malays will call it rizki, Indonesians will call it rizki, others call it something else, but it's all rizq. Rizq has two meanings. One lughawi, lexical, dictionary meaning, and one is in the Sharia meaning. As far as lexical dictionary meaning is concerned in the Arabic language, anything and everything that gives you some sort of utility, some benefit, is called rizq. Anything and everything that gives you some utility, some benefit, some manfa'ah, is called a rizq. However, and the plural of the word rizq is arzaq. Arzaq. It has many other meanings, but this is relevant to our topic. Rizq, according to some of our dictionaries, it is something that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends, gives to a living being that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created in order for that being to maintain and sustain its existence. Nourishment. This particular definition is, according to Maturidi school of thought and Aqidah, this is it. Rizq is something that goes through your mouth, into your tummy, to give you nourishment, to keep your life going. That's the strict definition of rizq according to the Maturidiyya. However, the Ash'ariyya, the second school of thought in Aqidah, in Islam, they define rizq as not only something that gives you nourishment, but anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you where you benefit from. In terms of your clothing, in terms of your house, in terms of your earnings, in terms of anything and everything that has a direct benefit to you, your personage, this is called rizq. This is also acceptable. This is also acceptable. Rizq can be both. It can come to you both from halal source and a haram source. Not in the sense that it must come from a halal source and it must come from a haram source if it's written for you. No. In other words, you have the option of acquiring this rizq either halal way or haram way, entirely up to you. But rizq will come to you. Rizq will definitely come to you. Maybe I should illustrate this with a story first, so it makes sense, inshallah. Sayyidina Ali karramallahu wajhah, wa radiyallahu ta'ala an, he entered into the Kufa masjid with his assistant. And they had a horse. And there was a man standing next to the mosque, at the entrance of the mosque. He looked at his face. Subhanallah. He says, okay, he looks all right. He says, brother, we're about to go and do our salat inside for 10 minutes or so. Will you look after our horses, please? Not a problem, sir, not a problem. He doesn't know that he's Amir al-Mu'mineen. So they go inside, do their salat, and come out. And guess what? The horse is gone. Also the man is gone. But before he came out of the masjid, Imam Ali karramallahu wajhah took out 5 dirhams from his pocket. He says, he was such a kind man, looked after our horses. I just want to give him this $5 dirham, as a gift to him for his services. Not that he asked for anything, just as a gift. When he came out, the horse is gone, stolen. Subhanallah. What do? He says to his assistant, he says, you go to the market and buy us a horse. But before he said that, they saw the horse's head around the corner. Only the horse. The saddle and the, rein was missing. The man took what's removable, quick cash stuff, rather than the horse. He left the horse in the corner and he ran away. So he says, Subhanallah, what can we do? Here's money. You go to the marketplace and buy for us a saddle so we can go back home. So the assistant goes to the marketplace where they sell saddles and reins for the horses. And he was looking, what can I buy, what can I buy? All of a sudden he saw Imam Ali's saddle on the counter for sale. He went to the man and says, excuse me sir, this is ours. This is Imam Ali's saddle. We were praying, he explained his situation to him. He says, this is ours. And the man, being an honest man, he says, listen, about 5 minutes ago somebody came. He says he was selling a, the saddle. And I paid him 5 dirhams for it. He says, I don't want to make any profit on it or anything as such, because the property did not transfer. The ownership did not transfer onto me because it's a stolen property. Just give me my 5 dirhams back and you can take it. 5, just 5. He comes back with the saddle. Imam Ali says, that's our saddle. He says, yes. He explains the situation. Imam Ali calls people around. By the time many people gather around the Khalifa, Amir al-Mu'mineen, and listening to him. And he says, listen, this is a big lesson in rizq. I personally wanted to give this halal 5 dirhams to the men. And Allah has written for him 5 dirhams only, not more. But he chose to take his rizq from haram source. In other words, he stole the saddle and he went and sold at the counter, cash and carry, for 5 dirhams, which was my 5 dirham in the first place. He says, I didn't lose anything, I got my hasanat. And the saddle man, the one who sold us the saddle, we bought it back, he says he didn't lose anything because his income was also halal. But the man who hastened about his rizq, he chose the haram method of acquiring this 5 dirhams, therefore he settled for haram. If he waited, he would have received this 5 in his hand as a halal source. This is qadar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in play. Our rizq is absolutely fixed, cannot change. Whatever it is written for you in your life, amount of food, amount of drink, any form of nourishment that goes into your tummy is guaranteed and fixed billions of years before you were born. This is aqeedah. No matter how hard you work, you cannot have more than what is already written for your nourishment. And this also defines our definition. The money in your pockets, the funds in your credit card and the funds in your bank accounts, your property and everything else are not rizq, according to Maturidi understanding. Rizq is only something that is a nourishment that gives you growth and maintains your life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, for us in particular, human beings, not the animals. Animals don't have this concept of haram and halal. They just follow their natural instincts and they eat whatever rizq is for them. But men, humankind, has the option of acquiring this rizq through halal means or haram means. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Ar-Razzaq kulli shay. Allah is the provider of everything for everyone. Allah guarantees this. This is our belief. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to us in Surah Al-Hud, in verse 6, and also in Surah Al-Ankabut. Inshallah, we'll look at both of the ayats. These are central to our topic. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَمَا مِن دَابَّةٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ رِزْقُهَا وَيَعْلَمُ مُسْتَقَرَّهَا وَمُسْتَوْدَعَهَا كُلٌّ فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. صدق الله العظيم. Every living creatures, anything that moves on earth, from the smallest possible ant, little dude, little worm, lives beneath the soil, to any bird that flies in the air, anything in between, including human beings and jinn kind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have guaranteed their rizq. How much food they're going to eat, how much drink they're going to have is already guaranteed by us. It is known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows where they live and where that being, that creature who receives rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where they're going to die and where they're going to be buried. These are all written in a book, Kitabun Mubin, Al-Lawh Al-Mahfuz. As Muslims, we have to believe in this. As far as human beings are concerned, there are actually 5 groups about this belief, this particular belief of rizq. Inshallah, with this, I will stop and we will pick up our discussion next week onwards. Amongst the human beings, the perception of people in regards to rizq are 5. The first one is the perception of rizq of a kafir. A person who does not believe in Allah, does not believe in Islam. He believes or she believes that she is or he is in control, absolute control of his or her rizq. If you don't work, you die. If you don't earn money to buy things, you die. Definitely. I am in full control. The second type, they believe that rizq is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, Allah is the one who created. But at the same time, you have to work. If you don't work, Allah will not feed you. They believe that Allah will not give you rizq, but you need to work on it. This is what the pagan Arabs, the mushrikeen, used to believe in. Thirdly, a person who believes that yes, rizq is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he's not really sure whether Allah will give it to him or not. He's going to get it or not. This is the belief of a munafiq, a hypocrite, A person who looks like a Muslim outside, but inside is not a Muslim. Fourth, a person who fully believes that rizq is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but when it comes to acquiring this particular rizq, hastens and resorts to haram. This is the concept of rizq of a fasiq Muslim. He knows that rizq is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Haram or halal doesn't matter, give it to me. In ma'asiyah, in sin, they insist, and therefore they do not care about how it comes to them. They do not think of hisab, what will happen to them on the day of judgment. Therefore they just acquire. Yes, what they're going to acquire is going to come to them anyway, because Allah promises so. The way they acquire puts them into danger, because they do not care much for the halal income side of things. And the fifth one is the concept, of course, of a salih believer, a good Muslim. Fully believes 100% that Allah is the guarantor of rizq. However, he relents, he leans towards asbab, causes. He works on the causes which will enable that rizq to come to him. Believes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives him this rizq. In other words, in order to get this rizq, you need to work. But sometimes you work 10 times over, your rizq is this much. One man has 2 degrees and he hasn't got any rizq this much. The other guy cannot even sign his name. The money is coming, this earning is coming out of his ears. No matter what he does. But a true Muslim is a person, my duty is to work with the best possible manner, in the best possible form, as hard as possible. But it is entirely up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me my rizq. And to delay my rizq or not to delay my rizq, it's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I believe that everything that comes to me is because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guarantee of rizq at all. Inshallah, we will stop here and continue with this topic next week. If you have questions, write those questions on a piece of paper and pass it on. Sometimes I deliberately leave some loose ends for you to ask questions. Khair inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullah khair jaza. It's time for Isha. Inshallah we will continue with our talk next week.